Number 5. The role of religion in my reboots. If you are religious and do not want to challenge your current ideas around your own sexuality and morality, then perhaps just skip this part. My goal is not to persuade anybody to leave their faith or religious practice. However, if you are religious or were religious, this needs to be a central part of how you approach and understand this behavior. This is because the reboot is about understanding and connecting with all your deeply held beliefs. If you do not challenge them in all arenas, you are brushing a massive amount of power and understanding about your behavior under the rug. Just as with all things pertaining to your reboot and reboot capital, your beliefs and mindsets must change in order for you to move past this behavior. For some, this may look like viewing sexuality through a different lens. For others, it may look like a changing understanding of willpower, temptation, and the origin of sexual desire. For me, my religious upbringing was a principal contributor to my out-of-control behavior. And it's the same for the vast majority of men in my former religious community, including in my family and closest relationships in my community and church leadership. I was deeply involved in my religion for 24 years. I'm shocked at how much I progressed in my reboots the more I uprooted my false beliefs about myself and reality. And in doing this, I saw how much really came from my deeply held religious beliefs. When religious, I could point to countless scriptures, sermons, and personal experiences that showed how bad and evil my behavior and my desires were. And behind closed doors, I was engaging in behavior regularly that, on religious terms, is a crime beyond murder, quote unquote, beyond murder. My completely natural and personal desires were tainted with shame, fear, and secretive sadness. I rarely got to seriously look at my behavior as a symptom of something deep within myself, desiring change and healing, and instead looked at it as a temptation that the adversary was getting over me. And my job was to resist, fight, and hide my struggle from everyone. My human nature was ungodly, and like a flame that would spread out of control and hurt me and those I loved if I didn't keep it under control and pushed it down. Ironically, believing any of this actually caused that flame to do exactly what I feared it would. My addict developed from needing to soothe myself from what was happening in my life or my family in a private way that wouldn't hurt anybody. It is clear that sexual shame is prominent in our human culture, and I don't think you can trace that anywhere better than to religious dogma. In fact, the more religious I got, and the more deliberately I acted to make everything outside myself perfect as opposed to looking within myself, the less I was really facing my beliefs with the world in a way that encourages learning and growth. Number 7. Leave room for new and personalized experiences or strategies. Leave room for things that will not necessarily fit the exact parameters you see in the resources and the calls within this program. Your situation is unique because you are a unique human. My guess is that you probably have something you think is weird or embarrassing or ridiculous, and you would rather ignore it than consider it a place where you can acknowledge how it will impact your reboot. Here is an example of something I thought sounded stupid, but was actually a unique part of my reboot. If I would have recognized this earlier and seen the data in it, instead of labeling myself as bad or lazy or dumb or whatever, I would have made progress sooner. When men have to poop, there is pressure placed on the prostrate. Pressure on the prostrate can lead to getting an erection simply from having to go number 2. Wild, but it's true. The same thing can happen when you have a full bladder. Because of my behavior, every time I got an erection, I would feel like I had to PMO, to use pornography, to masturbate, and to orgasm. Even if I didn't have anything else triggering it, just having an erection would do the trick and put me in addict mode. This is a great example of awareness being the key, not elimination of the behavior. In the past, I would just immediately go into the mode of, I am bad for having this urge, which inevitably led to coping mechanisms that led to acting out. Now I recognize the biological reason for it, and I can simply do my business without conflating it with needing to avoid a slip. These are my main takeaways and shares. Much love, your brother in this struggle, and he shares his name.